Hey, welcome back to the Secret Cavern. You know, part of the problem is, of course, if it's a Marvel novel, I'm probably going to buy it, right? And with Amazon, it's crazy because I can find all these that I can't find in the normal store, but I'm running out of room. I might have to get another shelf in here. If you notice, like here, I got the Frankenstein puzzle. I found this other one. I thought it was so good, but I have no room to put it. I'm covering all my nice books up. So I'm going to have to come up with some kind of solution. Of course, my wife's solution is, so why don't you sell some, which hurts me as a collector. All these things, and I know it's cool comic stuff. We got superhero stuff. We got monster, a lot of horror things. Sometimes there's things that are there that are meaningful to me that are a little different. This is a can of Popeye spinach. I can't tell you how long I've had it. I know it's got to be bad by now. It expired date has a Julian coat on the top. But Popeye was one of the very first superheroes. We were living in Texas. I would get out, I think I was 4 or 5 years old, so it was preschool? And I would come home, and at 3 or 3:30 every day, and there's only 3 channels on the TV back then, Popeye was on for a half hour. I loved Popeye. I studied it. I wish I would have had these back then, but I didn't. The big little books. I got this one here, Popeye in Jeep. It's kind of cool. Remember, they got little photos there. Very old. Black and white. Let's see what year that one is. This one feels old. I'm going to say 1938 maybe. 1937. Not bad, huh? Pretty close. Got this one here just on Wimpy. If you remember Wimpy, I'll pay you gladly for, if you let me have a hamburger today, I'll pay you for a hamburger tomorrow. What is it? I'll pay hamburger today, hamburger tomorrow. All right, I'm going to have to look that up because it's probably in here for sure. I'll gladly pay you tomorrow for a hamburger today. Of course, Popeye's girlfriend, olive oil. See, this one here is a little more recent. This is 1949. Not quite color yet, right? There's Jeep. So cool little stories, I think. And of course, the last one, Popeye the Spinach Eater. Now, if you know anything about Popeye, oh, this one's all comic. Look at that. There's no books. It's all comic in there. So we could go through and read that whole thing. Popeye, usually Brutus, or he meets some kind of foil and he gets beat up. What he does is he grabs a can of spinach and he squeezes it with his hand, and the lid pops off, the spinach comes out, and he eats it, and that gives him super strength. When I was 5 years old, I studied this cartoon every day. I watched every day how he popped the can open. He guzzled it all in one bite, and it gave him superpowers. After months and months of watching it, I finally got the nerve up, and I told my mom, hey, I want some spinach. She goes, really? You want some spinach? I said, yes. She goes, okay, let's go to the store. So we go to the store. She has the shopping cart. And she goes to the produce section, grabs the spinach, throws it in there, and goes, there's your spinach, you know, because I'm a 5-year-old, so I'm always bugging her. And I'm going, what? That's not spinach, that's lettuce. She goes, no, that's what spinach looks like. That's fresh spinach. And I said, I don't want that. She goes, well, that's spinach. I go, no, I want it in a can. I have to have the spinach in a can. So she went over, bought a can of spinach. This is 1968, okay? So she gets this can of spinach. Doesn't say Popeye on it, of course. And I take it home, and of course, I can't pop the top off. And I'm saying, Mom, how do I open this? And she opened it with the can, and she dumped it into a pot on the stove. And I said, Mom, what are you doing? You don't do that. And she goes, I have to heat it up. And I says, no. She goes, how are you going to eat it? And I said, I'm going to pop it and eat it right out of the can. That's what you're supposed to do. So my mom gets the can, puts some back in it from the pot, gives me a fork, and what do? I take a big bite. Now, I don't know if you've ever had canned spinach, but have it cold also. Cold canned spinach. It was absolutely the worst thing I have ever tasted. I choked it down. And then I took another spoonful and choked it down. And then I took another spoonful and choked it down. I literally ate half the can and I'm gagging in the process. I am almost sick. And my mom's just watching me go, man, my kid's crazy. What's he doing? Then I stood up, straightened myself up, and I said, okay, I'm going outside. My mom goes, where are you going? And I just walked right out the front door. We had these little steps that led down the side of the house. And I walked right down to the side, and I'm walking around to the corner of the house. My older sister, my mom and dad are all at the door kind of laughing at me. And they go, what are you doing? I said, well, listen, I've had my spinach. I'm going to lift the house up. And if you don't move, when I lift it up, you're going to fall right out of the door. So they stood there and said, we'll think we'll be okay here. And I said, all right, you're going to fall out. I go to the side of the house. I plant my feet down and I grab the corner. And with all my might, I tried to lift. And I tried to lift. Of course, I couldn't lift the house. And I went, what? And my family's all laughing at me. I went in and learned an important lesson that day. I hate spinach. I don't think I ever eat it. Well, maybe I've had it a few times since. But I kind of knew that wasn't true, but I thought it was. But I learned a lesson. I love Popeye, but vegetables kind of weren't my thing, and it didn't give me super strength. I know it looks cluttery, but there's so many cool things here with the books, Spidey snacks. We got some creepy cards. We got a little Robin statue, some puzzles. But if you look down, not everything is kind of superhero related. We got this bottle. Now, this bottle is a pink dog. My grandmother, Coons, who's passed away, knitted this for me. And so I always had it, and I got it when I was probably 5th or 6th grade. And I kept it all the years. And I used it to hide this bottle of Canadian whiskey. Now, if you look at it, the top's still there. I don't drink. And whiskey's not, I don't know if this gets better with age. Probably doesn't, knowing my luck. But when did this? This is 1970. Okay. So bottled 1970. So here's the story behind this. We were living in Southern California. We lived in El Toro Marine Base outside of Irvine. My dad gets a call at night, and it is probably 9:30 at night. And my grandfather owned a trucking business out of Salt Lake. He would run it from Salt Lake, run trucks down to LA all the time, run trucks to Portland. And I mean, he's pretty wealthy. He's running this little truck business. He called up and he said, I got a problem, Joe. He says, I have a trucker there who got drunk, got with a prostitute, said she stole his keys, and he's in downtown Watts, and he's just drunk and totally lost. Can you go down and help get the guy back on the road? And my dad kind of went, okay. Now, my dad's a Marine, right? We're at the Marine base. My dad's a big, tough guy, served in Vietnam. And he goes, yeah, I'll go. And I hung up the phone, and I go, Dad, you're crazy. You're going to Watts at 10 o'clock at night? So he goes, what do you mean? I'm not that nervous because you know what? You're going with me. And I said, there's no way. My mom said, Chris, go with your father. So we drove down. It was about an hour and 15-minute drive from our house into downtown Watts. I remember pulling off there. There was like a Denny's or it might have been a Sambo's restaurant back then. But it was packed. And it was like midnight. So then we go over and we see the trucker. And the trucker's there. And he's just sitting on the curb just like crying, right? I've lost everything. I walk up to the curb and I'm pointing to my dad and I go, look, there's like money in the curb. There's rolls of dollar bills. I think I found his keys in the gutter. And I pick all this stuff up and I go, well, here's your keys we have. And he's totally drunk. My dad pulls me aside and says, hey, I'm going to be talking to this guy. I want you to go into the cab and I want you to get all the alcohol you can see in there, all the bottles, everything, and get it all out of the cab and go put it in our car. And I said, what? I said, what if he gets mad, Dad? He goes, just do it. So my dad starts talking to the guy again. I sneak into the guy's cab and I start pulling. I pulled 6 or 7 full bottles of whiskey. There was probably another 7 or 8 that half opened and some beer. And I just grabbed it all and made a couple trips and took it over to our car, hiding it in my jacket so the guy wouldn't freak out. And I remember when I was all done, we walked back over there and my dad goes, well, you know what we did? And he goes, yeah, you took all my drink. And we go, yeah, we did. We took it all. So then my dad says, well, we got to get this guy sober. Let's get him some coffee. So we went into Denny's, and I'm not kidding. We walk into Denny's. Everyone stopped, just like you see in the movies. Everybody stopped and turned and looked. You know, and my dad is showing no fear at all. You know, my dad just goes, hey, how you guys doing, you know? And we sat down at the table, and we started going. And some people kind of looked at us. My dad goes, yeah, he works for my father-in-law. He kind of got a little drunk, so we're just going to help him get on the road again. I'm scared to death thinking, you know, hey, we're never going to get out of here. But you know what? They were the nicest group of people. Everybody helping us, talking to us, asking if we needed any help or something like that. We sat there for an hour and a half with the guy, giving him coffee. Everybody was super nice. I mean, I don't know what I was worried about. Everyone super nice. So, boy, if you're watching this, you were in that restaurant that night. Thank you for your kindness because it was great. Afterward, we got the guy on the road, got him in there, drove off. And I don't even know what happened to the other ones, but I said, Dad, can I keep a bottle of this? But my dad, right here is a teenage kid, 15 years old, saying, hey, can I keep a bottle of this? My dad goes, one condition. If you decide to drink it, you drink it with me, and I'll let you open it up. My dad doesn't drink. My grandfather kind of was a raging alcoholic, so my dad never had a drop in his life. And my dad said, if you crack the seal, now if you look at this, the seal is still intact on this. My dad has passed away a few years ago, but I keep this to remember that night, right? And I always thought to myself, hey, I don't want to end up like that guy. My grandfather was an alcoholic. This guy was an alcoholic. And what happened is this guy made it to Vegas, from LA to Vegas, which is what, 6-hour drive? And he did the same thing again. Got drunk again. My grandfather had to go down and get the truck down to Vegas and drive back. Exact same thing. A few months later, my dad goes, hey, we got a call from Keith, your grandpa. You know that guy that we helped out? You know, I think his name was like Bill or something. And he goes, yeah, he got shot. He shot in the chest by a shotgun somewhere, you know. So I just thought to myself at that 15-year-old age, man, what a waste of life for this guy, right? He drank and he had a good job and he could have had money, could have had a family or whatever, but he just kind of threw it all away. This kind of reminds me of that night, and that's why I keep it. My kids kind of don't, they drink a little, just to be honest. But I keep this and tell them the story. Hey, this is the story of that night. So I kind of remembered the night we went to Watson, saved a guy. So until next time, those are kind of 2 different stories where we'll talk about, what we're going to talk about next time. I think we're going to talk about the Phantom and the cool stuff I have about the Phantom, which is really awesome. By Lee Falk. They made a movie about it. I got collector cards. I got all the novels. They were great in the 70s. The Ghost Who Walks. Gold Key, we'll talk about that next time. And remember, my sign's not on, but if you look over there, don't touch my stuff if you come to the Secret Cavern.